pour les gens, ceux qui n'ont pas de casque de traduction, vous pouvez vous en procurer un. Il va y avoir des présentations autant en français qu'en anglais. Sans plus tarder, on a eu plusieurs changements dans notre programmation. Je vais vous présenter ça tantôt. Mais d'entrée de jeu, j'aimerais laisser la parole à notre directeur national et sous-ministre adjoint de la santé publique ici au Québec, au Ministère de la Santé et des services sociaux, le docteur Horacio Arruda. Il n'y a pas besoin de micro, Horacio, il y a une voix qui porte, alors ça va bien aller. Ou tu peux venir au train, tu vas avoir le micro aussi.
Mais pour ne pas crier et avoir l'air choqué, je vais aller. Bonjour. Welcome everybody to Quebec. Habituellement, on fait les remerciements pour les organisateurs à la fin. Mais moi, je voudrais tout de suite souligner le travail de mon équipe et de d'autres pour nous permettre de nous rencontrer ici aujourd'hui. Organiser une rencontre internationale qui n'est pas collée sur une autre rencontre internationale est à risque. Parce qu'il y a des gens qui ne peuvent pas obtenir leur visa, il y a des gens qui devaient venir et qui ne viennent plus pour toutes sortes de raisons, et l'agenda, jusqu'à la dernière minute, peut être changé. Ce qui entraîne des enjeux de logistique, ce qui entraîne des enjeux autour des communications avec des partenaires qui vont être faits à l'extérieur. Et le défi a été relevé jusqu'à maintenant. Alors, je tiens à vous remercier, tous ceux de l'équipe des communications, de mon équipe, des gens qui vont présenter comme tel, pour ce moment qui est extraordinaire, qu'on attendait depuis longtemps. Donc, je voulais souligner ce remerciement-là. Et maintenant, on est dans le bateau, on part en croisière. Il peut y avoir encore des changements climatiques et des ouragans et des tempêtes, mais on va être ensemble et c'est ça qui est important. Je voulais juste vous dire qu'il est possible qu'il y ait encore des surprises qui apparaissent, mais on va être ensemble comme dans la vraie vie. Mesdames et messieurs, pour moi, je suis honoré de vous recevoir au Québec avec la représentation d'une vingtaine de pays. I'm happy to have people here, coming from 20 countries around the world, people who are dedicated to health. Le sujet de santé dans toutes les politiques nous tient à cœur et nous y voyons une voie prometteuse pour mettre en place des sociétés équitables et en santé, en travaillant au sein des gouvernements et avec tous les partenaires de la société. Nous sommes ici, je suis sûr, avec des gens dévoués qui croient à la réduction des inégalités et qui veulent que les environnements, les différentes parties du gouvernement contribuent aux soins de santé et contribuent à maintenir des gens et leur permettre un meilleur avenir. Donc, je pense que ça, c'est majeur et on sait très bien, vous le savez, que les systèmes de soins sont importants quand on est malade, mais une bonne proportion des gains en santé vont être faits dans l'action sur les déterminants de la santé, sur l'environnement, sur la réduction des inégalités, sur les déterminants sociaux, etc., etc. Une rencontre comme celle-ci, les travaux que nous ferons ensemble pour faire connaître les bons coups, les bonnes pratiques, les gains sont primordiaux pour faire avancer les connaissances et soutenir le développement de cette approche. Vous comprendrez que l'implantation d'une approche, elle, dans toutes les politiques, n'est pas nécessairement évidente. Elle est contre nature du travail en silo que les organisations ont tendance à faire et il faut vraiment développer ce qu'on appelle une approche gagnant-gagnant, a win-win situation, pour que les gens comprennent le rôle qu'ils ont à jouer. C'est un défi continu. Les gouvernements changent, les organisations peuvent évoluer. Il faut donc avoir, je vous dirais un peu, un caractère de missionnaire. Je vous remercie de vous joindre à cet effort. Je suis convaincu qu'on va partir d'ici avec des nouveaux outils, des nouvelles connaissances, surtout des nouveaux collaborateurs, parce que c'est important. On a besoin d'avoir des liens avec des personnes qui, comme nous, sont affrontés ou doivent confronter, à mon avis, les différents enjeux difficiles d'implantation. Et quelquefois, on est découragé, puis c'est important d'avoir des gens avec qui on peut dire qu'on partage cette même vision. Je peux vous dire, je vous souhaite beaucoup de motivation accrue pour l'implantation de vos choses, pour qu'on puisse encore continuer à partager. je peux vous dire que nous avons l'intention de poursuivre nos efforts du côté pour soutenir et partager ces connaissances à travers ce réseau, un réseau qui, espérons-le, va croître. Peut-être même des gens vont se joindre au réseau dans le courant de la prochaine session. Mais je pense qu'il faut garder nos forces conjointes pour que les expériences aussi des autres pays viennent influencer nos décideurs. Nos décideurs, souvent, vont nous dire, mais qu'est-ce qui se passe ailleurs? C'est comment ces belles bonnes pratiques? Et je pense que c'est un domaine à élaborer, un domaine complexe, mais très important. Nous sommes ici dans un endroit très particulier. C'est ici que beaucoup de femmes, au début de la colonie, on était une colonie, je ne sais pas si c'est correct le terme, en tout cas du Québec, du Canada français de l'époque, ont travaillé pour soigner et prendre soin des gens qui étaient dans des situations difficiles. On partage beaucoup de valeurs en termes d'intervention avec les Augustines qui ont été ici présentes. Et c'est avec... elle va vous raconter l'histoire. On est au cœur, je vous dirais, du premier hôpital en Amérique du Nord qui a eu lieu ici. Donc, on est dans un milieu de soins, mais un milieu de soins qui a aussi maintenant évolué vers un milieu, je dirais, de bien-être. Avec qui on partage des valeurs importantes. Alors, je vous présente Mme Isabelle Duscheneau, la directrice générale du Monastère, qui va vous dire un peu quelques mots sur ces lieux-là. Et laissez-vous imprégner par le calme que nous apporte ce merveilleux endroit. Je ne sais pas si vous y dormez ou pas, il y aura une visite du musée, mais laissez-vous imprégner parce que dans un monde où tout va vite, où on est continuellement sous pression, c'est très important de respirer et de rester zen. Et je dis ça aussi à tous les gens qui sont dans l'organisation logistique. Si jamais on a des problèmes, restez zen. L'important, c'est qu'on soit tous ensemble. Merci.
Merci, M. Arruda. C'est vraiment un immense honneur de vous avoir aujourd'hui, de vous accueillir pour cette importante réunion. Un petit mot sur l'histoire du lieu, effectivement, pour bien vous ancrer dans le sens. Parce que vous allez voir que faire une réunion comme la vôtre ici, que, bon, évidemment, le sujet dont vous allez parler prend tout son sens ici. Donc, je vous amène rapidement. Vous allez passer de l'avion au bateau. Moi, je vous amène sur un navire au 17e siècle, mais inquiétez-vous pas, je vous ramène rapidement dans la modernité. En 1639, donc, 3 jeunes religieuses ont été envoyées par le roi Louis XIII. Et donc, c'était 3 Augustines, et elles avaient la mission des soins des corps et des âmes en Nouvelle-France. Elles étaient sur le même bateau que les Ursulines, qui, elles, avaient la mission de l'éducation. Donc, elles traversent l'Atlantique en 1639, donc sur un des premiers bateaux colonisateurs de la Nouvelle-France. Et elles arrivent donc 3 mois plus tard ici, pour y construire le premier hôpital en Amérique du Nord et plus précisément au nord du Mexique. Donc, voilà, vous êtes sur le lieu où s'est installé, a été construit le premier hôpital. Évidemment, c'était vraiment une petite cabane, et la petite cabane au Canada, ici, prend tout son sens. Donc, c'était une petite cabane où elles accueillaient, évidemment, tout le monde, tous les colons, les Amérindiens, tout ça pour les soins. Rapidement, il a fallu qu'elles agrandissent l'hôpital. Donc, ici, on est sur les fondations qui datent de 1695. Donc, vous allez avoir la chance de vous promener dans le lieu. Par la suite, elles ont dû agrandir ce lieu fondateur, donc pour y créer et y fonder l'Hôtel-Dieu de Québec, qui est encore en fonction aujourd'hui, qui est juste à côté, l'autre côté, en fait, il y a juste une porte qui sépare le vieux bâtiment ici, le monastère, de cet hôpital, qu'elles ont aussi fondé. Donc, elles arrivent au 17e siècle comme soignantes et apothicaresses, et les sœurs arrivent avec l'approche holistique de la santé. Elles n'ont jamais perdu cette approche. Elles ont fondé et construit et dirigé plus de 12 hôpitaux dans l'Est du Québec. Et elles ont été ces dirigeantes jusqu'en 1965. On a tendance à l'oublier, on a tendance à oublier que ça fait juste 50 ans qu'elles ne dirigent plus ces hôpitaux-là. Donc, notre gouvernement, évidemment, a repris notre système de santé. Elles ont quitté tranquillement les hôpitaux, ont pris leur retraite. Et donc, pendant toutes ces années, elles ont quand même participé à l'évolution de la pensée médicale occidentale. C'était des femmes visionnaires, des femmes d'affaires, dans les premières femmes d'affaires au pays. Elles, évidemment, participaient à l'évolution de la Nouvelle-France. L'hôpital était au cœur d'une ville, de village, c'était tellement important. Et développement durable, innovation sociale, ce n'est pas des termes qu'elles utilisaient, mais elles ont toujours eu dans leur ADN de faire du développement durable et de l'innovation sociale. Et donc, à travers toutes ces années, elles ont conservé au cas où que ça servirait un jour. Eh bien, quand on dit conserver religieusement, ça prend tout son sens ici. Donc, à travers toutes ces années, elles ont conservé, oui, leurs vieux bâtiments, mais elles ont conservé des archives, des artefacts. Et il y a 25 ans, à peu près, elles se sont dit, elles ont fait face, en fait, comme femmes visionnaires et femmes d'affaires, elles ont fait face à leur diminution d'entrée en communauté. Donc, elles ont fait face à la possible mort de la communauté. Et donc, la première étude qu'elles ont fait faire, c'est une étude d'actuaires qui leur disait qu'effectivement, en 2025, 2030, il y aurait plus de communauté augustine. Donc, elles se sont dit, parfait, qu'est-ce qu'on fait? Donc, comme femmes visionnaires et femmes d'affaires, elles se sont dit, nous, on a un patrimoine fondateur exceptionnel, on a voulu toujours participer à l'évolution de la société. Quand je dis qu'elles n'ont jamais perdu l'approche holistique de la santé, elles ont toujours parlé de prévention, elles ont toujours parlé d'impact sur la communauté. Donc, c'était beaucoup plus que les soins physiques, mais bien mental, émotionnel, spirituel, quête de sens, mais aussi sur l'impact sur la communauté. Elles travaillaient aussi de très près avec ces Ursulines dans l'éducation. Donc, il y a 20 ans, elles ont pensé à faire un legs. Donc, elles se sont dit, nous, si on ne s'organise pas, on va se faire organiser, on n'aime pas ça. Et elles ont donc décidé de faire un legs pour la génération actuelle et les générations futures. Le legs qu'elles ont fait, donc, c'est les ailes leur plus vieux monastère, mais elles ont aussi légué plus de 40 000 objets de collection et 1 kilomètre d'archives de long. 1 kilomètre, c'est quand même beaucoup, là, des papiers, des livres anciens. Alors ici, ce qu'on retrouve, vous allez faire la visite du musée, je pense, aujourd'hui. Donc, c'est l'histoire de l'évolution de la pensée médicale occidentale. Mais à travers l'histoire des religieuses, comme je le disais, elles n'ont jamais perdu cette approche holistique de la santé. Et on s'aperçoit que c'est seulement dans les 50 dernières années évidemment, que la santé qui est culturelle aussi, la façon qu'on voit la santé, c'est culturel, et qu'on a commencé à avoir une approche beaucoup plus physique. C'est très bien expliqué dans le musée. Et quand on fouille dans les collections et quand on fouille dans les archives, c'est très bien expliqué également. Donc, je termine mon allocution parce que vous parlez du monastère, c'est très difficile en 5 minutes, mais vous allez faire la visite du musée, ça me rassure. Et donc, elles ont, pour ce faire, pour le legs, elles ont créé une fiducie d'utilité sociale qui a comme mission d'être propriétaire au nom de la population et évidemment veiller aux intentions des Augustines et pour ce qui est des valeurs. Et elles ont aussi créé un organisme à but non lucratif qui est le Monastère des Augustines, dont je suis la directrice générale. Et nous avons ouvert nos portes il y a seulement 4 ans. Donc en 2015. Et donc, ce que nous avons décidé de faire avec ce legs, c'est vraiment de continuer à poursuivre l'écriture de l'histoire, de ce lieu. C'est ce qu'on veut faire pour les générations futures. Donc, on a des volets générateurs de revenus pour assurer une certaine pérennité au niveau de la mission culturelle et sociale. Nous avons aussi, évidemment, comme toute bonne OBNL, des partenaires financiers, privés et publics, et donc des subventions et on fait de la philanthropie également. Et pour les volets générateurs de revenus, nous avons des champs. C'est comme un hôtel de bien-être et de prévention. Donc, on y accueille des gens pour leur permettre de décanter, se ressourcer, avoir un certain répit, déconnecter pour mieux se reconnecter. Donc, il y a des forfaits santé, etc. Mais aussi, ce qu'on veut faire, bien évidemment, au niveau des intentions des Augustines, nous avons démarré la mission de ce lieu avec la mission sociale de prendre soin de ceux qui prennent soin. C'était une intention des Augustines, donc nous avons des chambres de répit pour les proches aidants et nous sommes en train d'élaborer des programmes pour prendre soin de nos soignants. Donc, les sœurs étant elles-mêmes des soignantes, elles voulaient vraiment participer au ressourcement des soignants et donc c'est ce que nous faisons avec les partenaires publics et privés. Donc, tout ça pour vous dire que ce n'est qu'un début de cette grande aventure. Nous sommes la génération passeur pour le passage vers les générations futures. Et ce que nous désirons faire, c'est pas de seulement regarder l'histoire de 1639 à aujourd'hui, mais bien de dire comment nous comprenons notre passé, comment nous pouvons analyser notre passé pour bien comprendre notre présent et comment ensemble nous pouvons écrire ce futur de la santé. Donc, le monastère s'inscrit vraiment comme un organisme à but non lucratif qui veut s'inscrire à participer à cette évolution de la pensée médicale. Et voilà. Donc, je m'arrête là. Et bien, sur ce, je vous souhaite une excellente réunion. Merci d'être là.
Madame Duscheneau, permettez-moi de vous remercier de cette vision, de pouvoir maintenir cette transition vers le futur. On partage, comme je le disais tantôt, plusieurs valeurs en lien avec ce que vous faites. Je veux juste souhaiter un bon succès, puis que nos prochaines générations voient qu'on est utilisé, parce que je pense qu'on veut mieux aller vers l'avant, il faut aussi regarder d'où on vient et adapter ça à cette réalité-là. Et c'est sûr que j'invite tout le monde qui un jour peut-être aurait besoin de se ressourcer, d'aller s'arrêter. D'ailleurs, moi, j'ai un appartement à Québec parce que je travaille ici, mais je vais venir avec ma conjointe passer une fin de semaine pour respirer, remplir de cette atmosphère qui est extraordinaire. On a beau dire n'importe quoi, mais on est continuellement bombardé. On est supposément dans une société des loisirs de l'an 2000, alors qu'avec les textos, avec la vitesse, une nouvelle en Australie, en Finlande, en Nouvelle-Zélande, est rendu ici durant la nuit. C'est un monde extraordinaire en termes de communication. Il y a des effets très positifs à ça pour donner accès à l'information au peuple de la Terre, mais il y a aussi des effets néfastes. Et c'est important de s'arrêter quelquefois. Mesdames et messieurs, pour la vidéo.
Bien, merci. Non, je vais faire peut-être une petite introduction pour expliquer les changements qui ont eu lieu. Alors, premièrement, merci beaucoup, Madame Duscheneau. Pour les gens qui n'étaient pas présents, là, il y a quand même plusieurs personnes qui sont ici aujourd'hui qui n'étaient pas à la première rencontre qu'on a eue du Global Network. Vous mentionnez que ça nous a, en tout cas moi, ça m'avait beaucoup inspiré parce que c'était en Thaïlande. On va voir Nanout qui va nous faire une présentation sur vidéo parce qu'elle ne pouvait pas être présente aujourd'hui. Mais dans la même optique, nous étions non pas dans un grand hôtel à Bangkok, mais plutôt dans un resort qui était possédé par une famille. Il y avait effectivement, encore une fois, les massages. J'ai un massage thaïlandais, c'est quelque chose.
La prochaine fois, c'est moi qui vais en Thaïlande.
Et puis, il y avait eu aussi une visite d'une ferme biologique. Alors, dans la même optique, nous, on va avoir une visite de différentes communautés là, en autobus la dernière demain, où on se divise en 2 groupes pour aller faire une visite. Alors, comme je vous dis, la première expérience nous a beaucoup inspiré pour être en continuité ici à Québec. Je remercie tous les gens qui sont présents et beaucoup aussi nos conférenciers qui, comme Horacio dit, sont arrivés hier soir. cette nuit, puis qui sont tellement dévoués, qui acceptent là, de faire tous ces compromis pour être avec nous. Vous mentionnez un peu les changements qu'il y a à l'horaire. Alors, ce matin, on devait avoir notre ministre de la Santé et des Services sociaux, Mme McCann. Malheureusement, vous connaissez les agendas politiques. Cette dernière n'a pas pu être présente, mais elle va être avec nous en vidéo pour la journée de clôture de demain. On a une vidéo de M. Carman, qui est ministre délégué à la Santé, lui aussi voulant être présent, mais comme il ne pouvait pas être présent, ils ont tenu là, nos deux ministres à faire une vidéo pour au moins montrer leur soutien à la démarche qu'on soutient ici avec la santé dans toutes les politiques. Pour ce qui est de l'avant-midi, ensuite, on va avoir justement Danout qui va nous faire une présentation sur l'origine du réseau. Et notre avant-midi, pour ceux qui ont regardé le programme, n'a pas changé. Ce qui a changé, c'est l'après-midi, parce qu'au niveau de l'après-midi, on avait un panel de 4 pays. Le Qatar, malheureusement, a eu un contretemps et ne pouvait pas venir. Et les 2 autres pays, le Burundi et le Bhoutan, les conférenciers arrivent ce soir. Alors, comme ils arrivent ce soir et que notre présentation était prévue cet après-midi, on a dû faire des changements de dernière minute pour faire en sorte qu'on puisse faire la présentation demain. Alors, on va laisser aller l'avant-midi, mais je vous expliquerai ce qui va se passer l'après-midi, parce que l'après-midi est complètement changé au niveau de l'horaire. Peut-être je reviendrai, moi, je vais être plus la personne qui va vous donner les instructions au niveau technique. Vous présentez Sophie aussi, Sophie qui est avec Marie-Hélène, qui est debout au fond en arrière. Je vous dirais que c'est nos 2 cheerleaders de l'organisation logistique. Alors, si vous avez des questions, ne vous gênez pas là, pour aller les voir. Elles vont bien vous diriger par rapport à ce qui se passe ce matin. Cet après-midi, c'est ça. Cet après-midi, il va y avoir des changements. On va avoir une présentation là, de Timo qui devait présenter plus tard, mais qui va présenter en début d'après-midi. Et ensuite, on va avoir Catherine Winterup qui va présenter en plénière. Ensuite, on va se diviser en ateliers avec Nicole Valentine et Louise Saint-Pierre. Mais de toute façon, avant le dîner, je vais vous revenir avec l'horaire. Juste vous mentionner que cet après-midi, on devait, d'entrée de jeu, commencer à 13h30, mais on va plutôt commencer à 13h15, parce qu'en changeant les horaires, on a un après-midi qui est plus occupé. Aussi, vous mentionnez, on a parlé de la visite du musée, juste vous le mentionner, on va avoir le lancement du rapport sur qui a été fait, là, des entrevues au niveau de tous les différents pays sur la santé dans toutes les politiques. Alors, il va y avoir ce lancement-là cet après-midi à 5h30. Et pour les gens qui le veulent, ils vont pouvoir faire aussi la visite du musée. Alors, si les gens veulent faire la visite, vous allez être les bienvenus. Ensuite, Sophie avait envoyé un doodle pour aller souper au restaurant ensemble ce soir. Si jamais il y a des gens qui n'ont pas répondu et qui aimeraient se joindre au souper, simplement lui mentionner à Sophie. On a réservé pour 25 personnes. Si jamais il y a plus de gens, on a juste à appeler pour ajouter des personnes. Alors, sur ce, je laisserai la présentation du vidéo de M. Carman. Merci.
Vous entendez bien? Mesdames et messieurs, je suis très heureux de vous adresser quelques mots dans le cadre de cette seconde rencontre du Réseau international sur l'approche de la santé dans toutes les politiques. Le Québec est très fier de vous accueillir et a très hâte de prendre connaissance de vos expériences, de vos idées et de vos approches les plus innovantes en matière de promotion de la santé auprès de vos populations respectives. L'approche préconisée par notre réseau vise à concilier l'ensemble des enjeux de santé découlant des différents secteurs de nos sociétés. Cela demande des efforts constants, tous orientés dans une même direction, ainsi qu'une organisation cohérente et une collaboration remarquable de tous les partenaires engagés dans cette démarche. Le Québec a fait ses preuves déjà en ce domaine, avec sa politique gouvernementale de prévention en santé. Celle-ci sera abordée plus en détail au cours de cet événement, mais j'aimerais souligner l'importance qui est accordée à une intervention précoce auprès des personnes. En effet, avec cet outil structurant d'intervention en santé, nous nous assurons d'agir sur les déterminants qui favorisent le mieux la santé des citoyens, et ce, le plus tôt possible dans leur parcours de vie. Je suis par ailleurs vraiment ravi que le développement des enfants et des jeunes soit au cœur de cette démarche. Par des mesures liées à la qualité des services de garde et par des actions concrètes concernant les enfants qui commencent leur parcours scolaire avec des facteurs de vulnérabilité, nous avons à cœur d'agir en faveur de l'épanouissement des Québécois et des Québécoises, et ce, dès leur plus jeune âge. Je suis pour ma part très engagé dans ce processus avec mes collègues les ministres de la Famille ainsi que de l'Enseignement et de l'Éducation supérieure, messieurs Lacombe et Roberge, dans le cadre d'un programme nommé « Agir tôt ». Ce dernier s'inscrit de manière parfaitement cohérente dans les orientations de la politique gouvernementale de prévention en santé. Et en cela, nous pouvons dire que nous œuvrons à l'édification d'une société qui place la santé au cœur de toutes ses politiques. Je suis donc très touché que cet événement se situe chez nous, ce qui témoigne de notre engagement dans cette démarche qui fait de la santé le pivot central de nos sociétés, misant ainsi sur l'avenir, un avenir qui nous sommes très fiers d'envisager avec espoir, en travaillant tous ensemble dans un but commun. Merci beaucoup.
Maintenant, comme je mentionnais, la première rencontre a eu lieu en Thaïlande et la personne qui nous recevait était Mme Nanout Mathurapote. Et malheureusement, elle ne pouvait pas venir. Alors, elle nous a gentiment fait une vidéo. L'idée, c'était justement de débuter en se posant la question où en est notre réseau, puis un retour sur le chemin qui a été parcouru par rapport à notre réseau de la santé dans toutes les politiques et un peu de voir où est-ce qu'on s'en va là, vers l'avenir. Alors, on a la vidéo de Nanout.
Good morning. My name is Nanu. I'm one of the initiators of Global Network for Health in All Policy. I'm sorry that I cannot attend the meeting in person, but nothing can prevent me to talk with you. Some of you may have engaged the network, but some are new. Let me start with briefing you the history of the network, shall we? My organization, National Health Commission Office, will organize the National Health Assembly every year as a platform to create health in all policies. But when we've done it for 10 years, we feel like, well, it shouldn't have only me in this universe. Where else my friend who working the same with me? So this network simply started a group of friends who have the same passion on health and policy. They came just to talk to each other. Back in 2016, Dr. Abdullah from Public Health Institute of Sudan just started this idea, saying like, why don't we have come to share this knowledge together? Carmel from government of Australia and Timo from government of Finland, who their organization are champion on this. They agree with Nico from the WHO, which is an important jigsaw to this network, supported this idea, as well as Michaela from Global Health Center in Geneva. And I myself jumped at this chance because I know that the network is a free asset and it can support my work. Apart from that, I and the network can contribute to the global movement too. So some of us are not enough to make influence, so we plan to kick off the idea of this network at the side event of World Health Assembly in 2017. And after that side event, we have a small group meeting with the participants. We knew from the small group meeting that we could ignite the idea to the participants. Then 6 of us talked to each other again that we should have the first meeting of the network to discuss more on how the direction of the network will be. The first meeting was organized in Thailand in October 2017. Around 20 people came. Some were from the local government, some were from central government, some are representatives of university, as well as representatives from UN agencies like USO, UNEP, and UNESCO. So we discussed more on the direction, how the network should look like. At the first meeting, we discussed more on the governance of the network. And we agreed that we should have executive committee, which is work as a group secretariat, and the steering committee to give advice to the ExCom. It is easy to select the ExCom members. We selected from the initiators of 6 people. But for the steering committee members, this is very interesting. How do we select them? We proposed at the meeting, we proposed how to select steering committees from the participants by looking at representatives of each continent, each jurisdiction, each sector like that. But when we look at how the participants keen on to engage the network, make me think twice that why don't we include everyone at the meeting as the steering committee members? Furthermore, we agree that we will work with voluntary basis. But I have to accept that work on voluntary basis with no full-time secretariat is not an easy task. When the network has started, more work we have done together. So far, we have collaborated on global survey on health and all policy status. Most of you here may contribute to the survey, but some of you may join the technical meeting to give advice to the analysis of the global survey in order to make the global status report on health and all policies. And you will hear more on this point in the next sessions. Apart from that, we also have the website under the USO portal to connect all of us. But if you ask me the value of the network, I simply say connecting, contributing, collaborating, and celebrating. This is the second year of the network. We quite have a good start. We connect all people, the right persons, into the network. And we share the knowledge from each other because no one knows best on health and all policies. We even advanced the idea to the USO Emerald and headquarters. This is a good start for the 2 years of the network. If comparing the network with a 2-year-old boy, this network just started walking. If we ask where this network is going to, I think the network needs to be taken care of, raised up by us. Perhaps we need to feed them more collaboration as a network, or at least as a subgroup work. It can be a research, or workshop, or training course, or at least meet once a year. So around 20 members are big enough to influence the global movement and also small enough to communicate each other effectively. If you ask me the direction of the network will be, I have to say, I don't know. But what I know is together is better. Let's build the network together. Finally, I would like to thank the government of Quebec, Canada, for organizing the second meeting of Global Network for Health in All Policy and bringing the spirit from Thailand to Canada. And I hope next year we will have the third meeting in somewhere. Goodbye.
Alors, merci Nanout, même s'il n'est pas là, on va lui envoyer des remerciements. Je ne sais pas s'il y a des gens de l'Excom qui voudraient ajouter quelque chose aux vidéos de Nanout. Comme on l'a mentionné d'entrée de jeu, il va y avoir justement, Nanout mentionnait le fait que c'est un petit groupe, nous sommes à peu près 20 personnes et que s'il y avait des gens qui voulaient se joindre, alors à la table où vous avez reçu vos cocardes, il va y avoir une possibilité de certaines organisations, si vous voulez devenir membre, à ce moment-là, vous pourrez le faire. J'aurais le goût, Nicole, de te laisser la parole, peut-être dire en avant pour qu'on t'entende bien, juste à propos justement du membership. Nicole Valentin est à l'Organisation mondiale de la santé pour les gens qui ne la connaissent pas.
Bonjour, hello everyone. I'm a bit nervous, I'll speak in English. Sure. Just to say that at the lunchtimes we will have an opportunity for you to talk to me more about the membership if you'd like to become a member. We are a small group of 20-25, this with about at least 50% should be governmental members and a smaller proportion academia and civil society and international organizations like myself. I'm representing WHO. So today and tomorrow at lunch, if you want to know more about the membership, let me know. At the moment, the criteria are quite simple in the sense that we just require that your organisation supports your involvement, and it's very much on an in-kind basis, the involvement, as we give each of our time with our organisation's support. But as Nanout said, for the executive committee, we've had also to stretch ourselves a little bit further than that. But as far as the membership goes, it's quite simple that you have an aim to further health and all policies and the approach.
Everybody, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here, and thank you to the Quebec government for holding this meeting. I was lucky enough to be part of the first meeting in Thailand along with colleagues. And I also wanted to acknowledge that Professor Patty Phillips, Horacio, I think that's who you were talking about. Exactly. Yes. Who was previously at the first meeting where this was discussed and was South Australia's steering group member, is actually moved on to a different position, but I'll be taking his role. So as Nanout described, we decided at that first meeting that a global status report would be an important part of the global network, and I'll be presenting some of the, I guess, the methods and the high-level results from that report. So, but I will be followed by Heli Haddinen, who will discuss the findings in more depth. She will also add some context to the report by describing how it fits into the Finland context. Can I just check that I'm not speaking too quickly? So, and apologies that I can't speak French. Okay. I did do 4 years, but I can't remember anything. Okay, it doesn't seem to do it. I am actually pushing the button, and it's making a light. Yeah, where's the receiver? I did. So where did you point it? You just pointed into the air. Okay. Okay. So the survey that we conducted was using a 48-question online survey. It took respondents around about 20 minutes to complete, and we collected data between October 2018 and January 2019. We had to use snowball sampling, and that is where one person who knows another, because there is no formal or complete list of agencies that are doing health and all policies work. So from the people that we knew, and then of people who they knew, a survey link was circulated, and we had a technical group that we brought together to oversee the survey design and the analysis. So that also included the questions of the survey. And this group met for 2 days in Adelaide late in 2018 to look at the data that had been collected to date and to identify the themes and the way in which that data would be analysed. The actual work of... so South Australia coordinated the report and did most of the drafting, but we actually have a number of people who are here today who helped us in that technical group. Okay, now let's see if I can do this. Oh, there we go. So we had 41 respondents. In fact, we had 82 in total, but what we found was that for some of those, they were incomplete. We think this was a technical issue because people had to complete the survey in one sitting, and so if they didn't, it became incomplete for the next one. So we mostly analysed these under 2 categories. That is the level of government that was reporting, and that could be local level, subnational level or national level. And also the phase of maturity. We found when we looked at the data that this was the most interesting and relevant way to analyse the rest of the information. And the phase of maturity was categorised into emerging, progressing and established. We did also have some countries that gave multiple responses for different levels of government. So, for example, China provided 1 national level response and 2 subnational level responses for the regions of Shandong and Shanghai. All 3 of these are referred to as separate jurisdictions. So for the purpose of this analysis, please note the word jurisdiction can be both a country or subnational or regional. Okay, so we believe that there are a number of strengths of this report. Firstly, we did manage to capture a range of different health and all policies models, which was really what we wanted. The survey was collaboratively designed and included key themes of conditions that support health and all policies practice. And the analysis itself was based on the substantial evidence base for health and all policies. However, I've already described that we had to use a snowball sampling method, and clearly that's not adequate. We will have missed practice, and we certainly will have missed practice where, I guess, those terms, health and all policy, aren't being used, but perhaps there's other sort of words like multi-sectoral collaboration, those other sorts of cross-government words. So we are keen to stress that we realise this isn't global practice that we're representing, but rather the group of 40-odd jurisdictions that participated. It's also important to realise that it could be that one individual completed the survey and that may not represent fully all of the work that's happening in that jurisdiction. Of course, response bias is always an issue for any sort of survey. I guess we think that it's less likely than other surveys that we might all conduct, given we're talking about organisations, but nevertheless, there's always a risk. And also, we weren't able to get the sort of detail that we really would have liked to have allowed us to analyse this at that next level. And I guess that's what Helly's going to help us with the Finland example. But we are certainly aware that because really there wasn't much space for a qualitative response, that we've missed some nuance, probably for every jurisdiction. Okay, so as I've already discussed, we realised that one of the more meaningful ways to look at this was in regards to the maturity of the health and all policies approach. And the way this was categorised was based on question 11, as shown in this slide. I don't think you at the back will be able to read it. So I might just read the question, because actually it is critical in understanding how we've presented the information. So the question was, what stage is your jurisdiction at in the development and delivery of the health and all policies approach? So for emerging, that included being interested but not yet having formal commitment. we're working with other sectors but yet to seek formal commitment, or we're not working with other sectors but we're actively trying to. So I guess that's sort of really, it's quite clear that they're emerging practices. For progressing, we have formal commitment and approval to proceed, but are just starting to work out our governance structure and implementation, or we've developed a formal governance structure and are in the early stages of implementation. And finally, for established, we have well-developed formal mechanisms for governance and implementation and are making good progress, or health and all policies approach is embedded. And again, people won't really see this from the back, but this map shows, this is from the report, it shows each response. What we've done is the colour codes at the top, yellow, red and green, represent the different levels of maturity of practice, and in black with the different shapes is the national, subnational or local. So I guess the thing is we've certainly had representation from a lot of places in the world. You can see we're spread about. Quebec is in there as a subnational and progressing. Okay. So the WHO Helsinki Statement on Health and All Policies was agreed as the definition for health and all policies for the purpose of this report, which defines health and all policies as an approach to public policies across sectors that systematically takes into account the health implications of decisions, seeks synergies, and avoids harmful health impact in order to improve population health and health equity. So health and all policies does use a formalised governance structure, and really I think this is the distinguishing feature of health and all policies compared to other forms of collaborative action. It also takes a complex systems approach to addressing health equity and the determinants of health and well-being through healthy public policy. So here we have, again, from the report, the known conditions that support health and all policy practice. And I'll touch on each of these, but just quickly in the following slides. So these were the kind of, also based on what we know about health and all policies and the evidence for it today, but developed further within this report. Okay. Now, the first one that I'll talk about is governance and leadership, I guess as it is that critical component that I've already alluded to. And the evidence tells us that sustained health and all policies action requires high-level leadership and governance mechanisms which provide oversight for the health and all policies approach and formal structures to facilitate the implementation of health and all policies. So what we found was that the more established the health and all policies practice, the more likely a jurisdiction is to have a strong authorising environment, political support, as well as governance mechanisms or formal structures in place. We did find, however, that the majority of jurisdictions did have some level of governance in place. But what was not clear, and I guess from the way the survey was designed and not having that extra detail, was that it wasn't really clear to us that transition between informal and formal governance structures. And should this be repeated, which as I understand will be, that will be something that we would want to refine going forward. To get more information really, so that we're a bit clearer about what that means. So while formal governance structures are important, many jurisdictions have had great early success with less formalised governance structures. And so I guess that's another question too. We believe that it's a necessary part of health and all policies practice, but I guess that nuance is what we really need to work through. Okay. So the other theme was in resources, that we need dedicated personnel for health and all policies practice, given the importance of relationships. So really that's about, people talking to other people. So the next topic was entry points, and that was really about getting health and all policies practice on the agenda, and ways of working, which was about the process, methods and relationships that shape the approach. But finding, not surprisingly, that these are context specific. So many actions can be taken, and these are dependent on timing and both local and national context in conjunction with political, organisational and situational context. The next area relates to capabilities, noting that health diplomacy and negotiation skills are critical capabilities that support the health and all policies practice, as well as the ability to adapt in the face of changing political, administrative and cultural landscapes. And certainly, even over the short time of the global network, I think it's clear that the change of government really does have a substantial impact on health and all policies practice. And it's about navigating through that to meet the new government's agenda. So another area, monitoring, evaluating and reporting. Of course, these are basic tenets of public health, but these are important and they are complex when it comes to health and all policies practice. As we know, it's much harder to monitor and evaluate the effects of policies than it is other sorts of interventions. And finally, establishing priorities provides a strategic direction. Determining short and longer term outcomes will become increasingly important as we evolve our practice. So we hope that this first global status report on health and all policies will be seen as an important tool, and we hope it will stimulate conversation about the opportunities and challenges of health and all policies practice and the difficulties of implementation by looking at trends and nuances across different global settings. We also hope it will help to track how health and all policies practice contributes to achieving the SDGs and the WHO 13th General Programme of Work 2019 to 23 launched in 2018. And also to improve understandings of how to initiate, implement and sustain health and all policies practice. So this report has provided many learnings on how to maximise the way we track and measure global health and all policies practice into the future to inform and strengthen practice. Ultimately, health and all policies provides a sustainable model for working across sectors to deliver health outcomes and progress their goals. Thank you. And I might hand over to Haley. You don't want to do questions now? At the end, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you and good morning, everyone. And now I try to find out how this works. Green, big green, okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for inviting me, and it's a great pleasure to be here today. And I have to also say the greetings from Taru Koivisto, who has been involved in this work for several years. She was not able to participate in this meeting this time, but she really is interested still what we are doing here. And I will send our messages back to Finland when we go there. Okay, I try to give some ideas, some thoughts about the results of the survey. And I have to thank also Timo Stoll, who has helped me and actually who has prepared these slides. and because I have not been involved by myself to the survey, but I have read the report, and now I try to give some reflections how these results seems to be from the perspective of the Finland. Okay, I just asked if there are right slides because the template is still different what we had, but it's fine. Yeah. Okay. The content of this presentation, we are going to discuss about 5 messages reflecting the findings from the survey and some lessons learned, and then also some maybe thoughts and ideas to discuss what's going to be next. The first message is that these findings seems to reinforce the relevance of the key elements of the health in all policies framework. You all know this framework, and I think that in this room people are very they really know and believe that health in all policies is important. But I think it's very important to show it also to the wider audience, to show that actually there are some empirical evidence that this framework can be used to support our work. Here you can see the key components of this framework, and for me, I think it's important to have this kind of frameworks also because sometimes we have a kind of narrative or discussion that this is so difficult, and I think that we create also a world on the way how we talk about it. And I think that health in all policies, it's not difficult. It's a very concrete way to work, and these kind of frameworks and give us the tools to make it concrete and make it happen in the real world. Then I would like to discuss more detailed about some key components which we have, which I and we in Finland, which have shown to be very important in our country. And what I think that I start from, I don't know if you can see these slides in the back. Okay, good, because the text is quite small. I think that actually these different kind of structures and processes in our organizations, they are very, very important because when the government changes, and the way of working that government changes, it's important that we have, as civil servants, we have some ways of keeping on the discussion, for example, between different ministries. And in Finland, we are in the situation that we have now new government, and 4 years ago we had a right-side government, and now we have a left-side government. And the way of how they work, it has changed a lot. And that's why I think health in all policies approach give us a very important tool to create the structures and to keep them working, but how to work together between different ministries, and how to find the common way, and how to share our ideas, how to work together. And then there's ongoing discussion about the political will, and I think that I have not met in Finland any politician who says that health is not important. I don't know that kind of people. But when we start to discuss what this means in practice, then it becomes difficult. And now, for example, we have a very health in all policies government program, because there are 5 strategic theme, and in every of them there is a health in some way. Health and well-being is included there. But there is also one key component is monitoring, evaluation and reporting. And what we really have to work is we have to create how to monitor, how to evaluate and how to report those different strategic teams. Because now it seems that there is not so much political will to have that kind of monitoring in Finland. They put the targets, they say that we want to do this, but now we have a discussion that actually how we are going to make the monitoring so that it's cross-sectional and it's based on health in all policies frame idea. And then, therefore, what I think that we also need ongoing capacity building to support to how to develop and how to go further in this new kind of situation in our country. And then second message based from the results of the survey. As actually we already heard that all these elements are important, but the governance seems to be maybe I can say the most crucial in advancing the health in all policies in practice. And I think that there was a slide about that, yeah. And here you can see some graphs about that. And as you can see, that those in those countries who have progressed, and they have a different kind of, they have a strong governance mechanism that support health in all policies approach to be in everyday work in government level. So what I can say in Finland, because sometimes when I reflect my work, I think that we have a lot of things to do, but maybe I can also say that in Finland, because the governance is it's quite strong, and it's very transparent, and it's not changing every year. It's not changing even when the government changes. Our governance is quite stable. So that's why I think that that's the one reason why we have been so strong in developing in health in all policies approach. Even of course we have a lot of problems also in our country to do things in practice. And then I already said something about the political support, and of course, as I said, for example, in our country, I have not met any politician who said that health is not important. So maybe it's due to discussions during the last 40 years we have had in Finland, when we have actually developed health in all policies approach in our country. Then the third message is about capacity of personnel and budget, I think. Yeah, are important for sustained practice. And there's some graphs also about the capacity building, how to support supporting institutional development and participating in community capacity building are also things we have done. And actually, my own responsibility also is to support municipal level to improve their capacity, and I think it's very important to have it in all levels in country to make it to be in concrete way. One thing what I would like to raise here is also about public health capacity and monitoring public health and its determinants. In Finland we have a very good databases and we have a lot of data, and for example what National Institute for Health and Welfare has done is that they have supported, for example, municipalities, but they have also they have a role to support national level decision making to use the data and help decision makers to use the data to make right kind of decisions and to evaluate the work they have done. For example, we have data from each municipality. What is the health and well-being of the people, and also what each municipality has done to improve them. And we have this data, and it's updated. Some of them is updated every 2 years, and some of them is updated every 4 years. So we have very much data, and now I think what we need to do and what we need to concentrate is to develop how we actually use that data. We have enough data, so we don't need more data anymore. And so that was about how to use data, and here's also something how what are the differences between different kind of countries and regions and municipalities relating to how they have developed and in which phase they are in regards what kind of practices they have in monitoring, evaluation and reporting. And what my experience is that in these changing situations is that because as you can see, those areas who has established already health and health policies quite far away, quite well. You can see that there are a lot of reporting and about outcomes and activities. And these days, when there are a lot of different kind of messages around us, and when there are a lot of discussion on what is the truth and how things are. For example, in Finland, about a year ago, I was in discussion where people in very high-level position said that they don't believe anymore that there are questions about equity in Finland anymore. And actually, that was a very, very good question, because we have data that is supporting that we have things to develop, but there's also data that shows that actually equities, it's not one question. It's a number of questions what to discuss and how to bring it to the policy making, and that's why I think that is important to understand better, also in Finland, that what is actually what are the different phases of the policy making, and what kind of data we should put in these different phases. So I think that we have a tradition that we put the same information, same data, we update it yearly or after between 2 years, and it's always the same messages and same kind of data. But what we need to do in Finland, I think, is that we really have to think about what is the cycle of the policy making. For example, when there are going to be elections for the new government, and when they prepare the government program, and when they evaluate the government program, and that's why I think that we really should focus that. And put the different kind of messages based on the data, so we can get the health in all policies to be more context specific. And that's also important because my experience is that when we have data, it's very easy actually to get other sectors to discuss with us. If we have numbers, if we have graphs, so it's very easy to get them around the same table and start to discuss how things are and what we can do together. Okay, and then fifth message about the results of the survey. It seems that they really advance the framework. And actually, we already heard about these some points here. And I think that in this picture, it's I like this very much because the governance is around it. Everything is based on that, and I think that's the most important thing, and I think that the results they reinforce this model, and they also show how this can be applied to track the transition of health in all policies through many phases. And I also think that what is also important is that different countries are in different phases. I just described some experiences from Finland, and I really hope that this framework and these results can support other countries to find their own way to develop their own way of working and to find their own entry points, and also to define how they actually evaluate the outcomes of health in all policies. So this is kind of summary of my presentation, and I think it's as I said when I started. I have been working around health promotion about 20 years, and a number of times I have heard about that it's kind of it's something so abstract that we cannot touch it and so on. And what I think that this report actually gives us very important information that health in all policies, it's not difficult, it's a very concrete way of working, but what is the most important is that there is no one way of working, no one way of implementing it, and I think that that's why these kind of meetings are important, that we can share our ideas, what you have done in your country, so what we can learn from that, and also when we describe that what we have done in our country, we can also reflect that what we can do maybe better, or what we can do in other way if we have not been very successful in that. Because I think that health in all policies, it's not some stable thing to do, so that we are ready in health in all policies. I don't see it like that because, for example, I have heard a number of times that, oh, you are in Finland, you have done so well. Okay, yes, maybe we have done so well, but actually we really have to keep on developing our work all the time, and because the world is changing very, very quickly, and the political situations are changing very quickly, so we really have to develop our way of working and health in all policies also in Finland. So we are not ready at all. And then I promised to give some next steps or some ideas that I can raise up from the results of the survey, is that what we need to maybe do, or maybe we can also discuss about this here. We should maybe clarify the difference between having a health in all policies team and dedicated staff members, or informal scoping and networking approaches. This is one thing, and then further operationalization of the health in all policies framework by making use of tools and guides available. I think these both are very important to discuss. Maybe not. Maybe we cannot decide about them, but maybe we can discuss about them. And what I think about the second point is that it's very important that we have we have concrete tools and different kind of guides available, because the people in municipalities at regional level and at national level, they really need them. That's my experience from Finland. Yes. And then there's the conclusions, but I would like to also rise up that health in all policies, it's not for health in all policies. Health in all policies is one tool to also to support the implementation of Agenda 2030, and I think it's very concrete way to support the implementation of and to achieve the sustainable development goals in different countries. Yes, thank you.
So, Bettina, do you want to come? Thank you very much. Finland is really a model. Our minister always talked to us about Finland. We want to become Finland. So we hear about you, and you are an example for us. So anybody who has a question for... yes, go ahead, and then... the microphone. Do you mind?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
We or you can use these, or I can translate. En anglais ou en français, comme vous voulez.
My name is Nicole Bernier from the National Institute for Public Health in Quebec. Thank you for your presentations. Very interesting. I'd like to know from you, my question is quite simple, I believe, whether with the study or the survey you were able to identify or advance your thoughts on the difficulties and challenges of even implementing policies in consolidated places. Like, we have these great models, but we're still facing difficulties. So I'd like to hear a little about this, if you have some thoughts about this.
Well, probably not adequately, actually. I think Timo's nodding. It was it was only 48 questions survey, and so a lot of it was descriptive in nature. I think that really, I guess that goes to that question of context and the details that I think we really need to do. And I realise that we've got an agenda to be doing another report in 5 years, but I actually think that what we've identified is we've kind of described, I think it's fair to say we've described the situation, but I don't know how much we've understood at that level of nuance. We did actually, before this report was a case studies report, and so I think there were about 10 from memory, case studies from different jurisdictions. And I do recommend that people read that because that actually went into some depth about context and challenges in the different jurisdictions. So that might be more useful.
Thank you.
My name is Wesley Queen. I have a question about the data within the municipalities. I think in Finland you talked about the data in the municipalities. Is there any information on the cost, the per capita cost, for each municipality, the cost of the service?
Cost of the service, yes, but what our problem is that we don't actually, it's very difficult to say what is the cost of health promotion and promotion of health and well-being. That's our challenge in Finland. And actually, we have now launched as a part of our EU presidency the term economy of well-being, and one aim is somewhere in the future, maybe after 10 years, when I have noticed that it usually takes 10 years to do something. When we have now started to discuss about this, I hope that after 10 years we really have some kind of data that connects economy and well-being, and we can really describe that. Now we have information of cost of services, and we have knowledge that what is the situation of the citizens, their well-being, and we also know about what municipalities to do how they promote the health and well-being of the population. But these data, they are not connected. So we have separate data, and we can also have some thoughts that what is the connection between them. But after 10 years, I hope that we have economy of well-being kind of thinking. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your very good presentations. Gerry Eikemans from the Pan American Health Organization. The last point you mentioned on health and all policies not being an aim on its own, but moving on the SDG, the Sustainable Development Agenda, etc. How about SDGs being the driver, taking it the opposite way? I think SDGs is now being sold, and there are very few countries who don't have some kind of a intersectorial mechanism around SDGs that we are not really tapping into. And even cities now are starting to do that. So if we could add the equity component to that, we're trying to do that in Latin America, we'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow. Is that not a way also to move this forward? I'm just putting it on the table maybe to have some discussion around that. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, that was very good point, because what I think, and actually what I have seen in Finland, is that SDGs have been very, very important theme to support also health in all policies. So it's I think that health in all policies is tool to implement them, but because in some situations, for example, ministries, they have actually recognized their role very well through when they have started to think about SDGs. So I think, yes, we need both of them. Yeah.
I wonder if I can I just wanted to add as well, and I'm sure there are people here who came along to Adelaide, but we had a health and all policies meeting in Adelaide that was really centred around the SDGs and how they could be paired. So I think that they can be, but I guess as to how much of a lever that is in the individual countries depends on how much the countries have vested into the SDGs or whether they're just signed up. Yeah.
It's a follow-up question there, and it relates to your last slide from do you need a dedicated health and all policies team or a resource person? My feeling is if you have a health and all policies, in trying to communicate with other sectors, you often, it's a communication problem. Here's someone from the health sector telling us what the health sector wants. So again, it's this SDG. Is it better to have a resource person in a SDG type committee? So from your experience in Finland, do you see it is better to have a dedicated team, or picking up on the point from the lady from Paho, seeing it's better to have someone else in a multi-sectoral environment who can communicate health and all policies?
I just say how we have done it in Finland. This is not my personal opinion. This is more that what we have done in Finland. We think that health and all policies in our country it's not a separate team. It's a way of thinking, way of working. But of course, there have to be some who is responsible, someone who is looking after, as you say. Maybe. I don't know, Timo. You can also say how you have seen it, but I think that it's more in a long way. It's in our country, in our culture, it's better way to work that the different sectors they think that what is their role, and we don't go as a health sector to say them that this is your role. So this is the way how we have proceeded with this, and that's why we don't have a separate kind of health and all policies unit or themes. But of course, for example, at local level, there are some persons who are responsible to take care of that all. For example, inviting people together. Someone has to do it. It doesn't happen by itself. So I don't know if there's a response or not, but we don't want to keep it separate. We want to keep it in everywhere.
Did you want to talk to that? You go.
Yeah, just to reinforce what Heli said, that our approach has been very integrative. So we don't have any dedicated team or budget for health and all policies, and sometimes it makes it difficult for us to explain how do you do health and all policies when you don't have budget, when you don't have people chief for that. And for South Australia, it has been easier in the beginning when you had a specific unit for doing health and all policies. It was easy to understand what you do when you're implementing health and all policies. But our approach has been very integrated, and then for us, as Heli said, it has been a way of working. It's an approach, really. It's not a tool. But our approach is based on those elements that you saw on the framework. And that's how we have worked. Do we have those elements in place? Do we have a person who is advocating health and all policies? Do we have a person who is in charge in a way? We know that there's one person who is looking after the health and all policy approach, that it's happening there. That we have those elements, and if we have those elements in place, do we have health included in those structures, for example? Is the role of health there stronger enough? Those are the issues that we are then discussing, in Finland, on national level, on those structures.
Just perhaps to discuss what you're saying. In fact, my dream would be that it's going to be another minister than the Minister of Health who's going to have this, but we are not still there. And health and all policies should not be a religion, not integrated clearly in relation with this, the ODDs, but I will tell you, if I ask my politicians what are ODDs, they will probably not know it exactly. They will understand développement durable, they will understand reducing inequities, but they are not following the WHO issues like as we do. We try to use what we to construct from where we are. You know, not try to have a parallel system or parallel teams, because there's going to be conflicts. They will not invest in something parallel, and it's a way of doing public health, I would say, and it's why it's the public health person. And we dedicated some people to make sure that things happen, because if there is no somebody who talk about it, if you don't call the meetings, nothing's going to happen, and we need to change that. And I would say that even getting into health in our policies, we had intersectoral policies done in environmental space with work and everything, but now we're trying to give an all-government issue. And at the same time, some people say that health in our policies is not good, but it's still health who's going to get money. But in fact, that's the poor guys of public health who only have 2% of the budget of the health, which are, in fact, I could be in another minister, because in fact, I work more with other deputy ministers, and even my teams who are responsible for emergencies and everything, I could be in another minister, as a dream from my predecessor, a minister of public health with a lot of budget. But it's not, that's not the case. So I think, and the context is very different from Quebec, that it could be in BC or in Ontario. It depends where are the people. But I think we ask for, and we must not go there and say, you know, I am public health, here's my Bible, and here's what you should do that, you should do that, you should do that. No, it's a win-win situation. And it's a formal approach with a good governance, but also, I would say, an informal one when I go have breakfast with other colleagues from other ministers to understand what are their challenges and how we can work together to help their own, I would say, approach on transportation, on approach. So I think that's, if we try to create something parallel, we have difficulty to do that. So I met a lot of pressure on my people working on other sites too to do that, and I'm trying to lead that. I come back from Washington to present to deputy ministers the vision, to make sure that they will have learned about it. They know that their directors are working with us, and when the minister is going to go to the ministerial table, that discussion, the machine will be aware, and nobody is going to be surprised and what it is, and afraid of this coming from only health, not work with them. So I think that's the way we're trying to do it, and I hope, please, that it's going to work, and I hope, please, that cash is coming. I'm sorry, I don't want to reduce that to cash only, because even the way we do business together is different from what we did before. But the real commitment will be, let's give a little bit. And I'm not asking, if I ask everybody how many millions they need, it's incredible, I will not try to ask it. But at least have a decision to a commitment that is going to be, here is it for action, and share with the others, not only for health, because already we take 50% of the budget of the government, which is, but not me, I only have 2% of the 50, not me, the population, it's not for me. I hope so, but it's not for me. So that's try to answer your question. I think that a parallel thing is difficult. It's going to be in conflict, even from public health approaches and other things. So that's, I wanted to express the way I feel it. Thanks.
Nicole?
I think Horacio's covered a lot of the things I was thinking. Just a few points. One is that that when we talk about health in all policies, you can call it something else if you want: multi-sectoral action for health, multi-sectoral action for health, equity in health and governance, equity in health in all policies, SDGs, call it what you will. But there's two founding principles, I would say. One is that we expect health to have some interest in promoting and prevention. If we just take health as a set of policies related to hospitals, it diminishes health, both in the politician's mind, in the general populace mind, in the media's mind. We get a narrow vision of what health is. So somewhere, whether it's in a separate ministry for public health or whether it's a component of the Minister of Health, there needs to be a concern for promoting and prevention. And then the second principle, I think, is that we're wanting the awareness of health impacts to be across government. Now, whether some SDG committee has a special expert who's looking at health impacts across government, that would be great. That, for me, is an entry point. But it doesn't negate the fact that somehow, where is the education within the health sector happening? So the sort of health and all policies mechanism, if you would like, is both grounded to those two principles, some sort of education and awareness within health policies as a broader concept, and some education and awareness within the broader government decision-makings on health and equity impacts and how it connects to the broader social justice, the broader, where is our society going, where are our public institutions going, how are we shaping societies as a government or being shaped by the private sector, private interests, etc. Those are the two key principles which this mechanism it tries to grapple with in a way that's systematically governed, but in a way that's always adapting, because our governments are adapting, they're changing to the pressures, urbanization, climate change, etc. So it's not about health. The way of working is what Julian referred to. And if you see in the Health and All Policies diagram, there are different ways of working. And Horacio mentioned the win-win as a key approach. So the way of working is something different, I think, from those two founding principles. And the entry point, which Jerry mentioned, is also different from those founding principles. But we really, as being grappling as a NEC with it, is how do we set up these mechanisms so that we are endorsing those two grounding principles, so that health is more than disease within the health consciousness and the people who work in health, and that health impacts and health equity impacts are connected to broader societal impacts for well-being across different government policies. So that's my kind of take on it. I hope that supports.
Thank you, Nicole. I love you. My wife is Nicole too, so it's why you were told. No, but another thing I want to say, we are at the ministry level actually trying to break the silos, trying to have a more transversal approach, and that's a challenge because nature makes people come back to their own problem. But when you see the Secrétaire générale du Québec tell to all our deputy ministers, I know you are very busy in your sectors, but it's important to invest in that way. That's I will see the results when I'm going to get the cash. But for the moment, that's great. And the other thing is also that the local governments are municipalities. Okay, it's important that that work goes down and try to have that vision also locally. And one municipality is different from another one. You cannot do the same thing in Montreal than in Gaspésia, which is a rural place, or even in his own. We have a mayor here, but I just want to say that this is important. Actually, we have been working a lot at a high level. We have public health directors on different regions, so when that also must need to go downstairs. We're going to have policy orientations, but that's going to be part of this. The environmental around the person is on a municipality. The way the municipality is going to treat their citizens have the approach or health in our policies also, this approach. They can call it as another way. It could be the Nicole Valentine's model, or I don't know. But that's important also to think that way, because at the same time, one of the drama is that people ask for treatments for cancer. They're going to have big articles in the media, but we never heard people asking for prevention. They do a little bit, but there is no those case stories that make that the investments are coming 3 days after the problem is there. So it's why it's also important to tell our people that they have not access to prevention, as we don't have access to the emergency. It's a problem to not get access to health promotion, actually, especially when you are from the lower socioeconomic and there is high inequities. So That's what I had. It's just have to go down to, and let's try to make it happen in the next 5-10 years, and be happy and I see you back when I'm going to be in my elderly home, hoping that you're going to take care of me. Bye. For the youth ones.
May I say something? Yeah. Nicole, I really would like to thank you, because I think it's very important to remember that health and all policies, it's not a way of working. It's more about that what we think about health. And in Finland, what we have find out that's why also the data is important. It's one way to make it, because if we just say that, if we just educate people to think about health, because educational level in Finland is quite high, and still we have those problems that people think that health promotion and health is about health services or emergency services, as you said. And I think that the data is one way to start new kind of discussion. Because people already have that knowledge, but they don't have that understanding that what it means in their own work. So thank you very much about that, because I think it's very important. Yeah.
Thank you. I agree with much what has been said, and I'm just curious about in this world where we are leading by influence and we need to be invited to the table. How do you articulate the value that you bring to those conversations? I agree, data is a great convener and an entry point. What other ways do you articulate the value of being in those tables that other sectors are having to inform their policies?
Do you mean that how we show them what is our value to them?
That's right.
I think that actually I think that we are not. Maybe that's not our approach. We are not starting from that point. We are starting that what is the situation, for example, the population, and we try to concentrate. What we have found quite useful is that it's about people. What is the situation of the people in some municipality or at national level? What are the main problems within our citizens? And then we start to think about that. And for example, now one thing that government wants to do in Finland is that we have to increase our employment rate. And we have started to think about what we can do actually to increase our employment rate. And health, and especially actually mental health, has a very important role in that. And so now all the sectors have started to think what they can do to improve people's health so that they can work longer and be healthier, and also how they can have a better mental health. And actually different sectors have found very, very well, and they have found very easily actually their role supporting people's health. So it's more about that. We have we try to find a common target and common objectives which we share, and then we start to work together with that. So that's, of course, there's money in that.
Yeah, I guess if I can just add to that is, I think really what we've just heard is when there is this is the benefit of the governance and the strong political will, basically, because then governments get to say, well, in fact, our issue is X, and we don't just want the traditional department dealing with X, we want everybody to deal with X. And we found in South Australia, through various iterations, that has driven a lot of the work, and so it does create a supportive environment for health and all policies. I guess the other lever is at that next level down is in the strategic plans of the different agencies. That's part of that kind of mapping to identify where are there issues that we know that we can contribute to. We have found of late that because we hold a vast array of data in health departments, and that we're actually better generally than other departments in analysing them and having the systems to look at that it is actually quite a big carrot for other government departments to come to us and say, well, where we're doing things together, well, we already hold that data, or if you've got your data, we can put it with ours, we can bring it together, we can get something valuable. We've actually found more and more that incredible desire to have more and more data and more information is something that we can facilitate. So that's another lever that we've been using of late.
I'm sorry, I'm very passionate for that. I think it's important if you want to have the commitment of the others. And what I discover is that other ministries are doing a lot of public health, even if we're not aware. And so it's more to see what are their programs, what are their strategies, and how we could be a team, me helping you to obtain your objectives. You know, it could be about workforce. We know that we are in the human brain industry, actually, not anymore petroleum and not still petroleum, it's clear, but we are, and when you don't have any more staff to work, actually stores are closing, or even restaurants, because there is no enough staff because of health problems and everything. And so I think this is a way of doing business. And to go through politics also, how I must understand how the Prime Minister actually, and how the different ministers, what are their plans? If I find something where I can influence, our Minister of Public Health who wants a lot of development of kids, and how our health and our policies approach can help him to obtain his own program. It's important to understand that's the only way. I must understand the other one. Like if I want to be in relation with somebody, I want to know who she is, why she would like, what should I give her, roses or yellows or red, making an image, but that's important to even understand what are the objectives of the policy programs and how health in our policies or that approach could help them to obtain that. And I think the win-win situation, going through what is there, trying to find the process is a way also to elaborate collaboration. And I will tell you, probably, again, going back to cash, if we get the money that we're supposed to get with this, which is what the intent is, we're going to take that pie and cut slices for other ministries. It's going to be the first time that this health is going to have cash and give to others in a way. So that's really a win-win situation. So I hope that next year at this meeting we can say, we get it. But I don't want to say that only cash is a thing, because we cannot have it if you have not done the work for years we've done, even with, I would say, sectorial approach on alimentation and activities. That's a way of doing health promotion, and we are evolving. So, but it's very interesting when you sit down with other departments, even municipalities, urbanization. People are thinking new ways of doing cities and everything. That's there, but the problem is that it's not coordinated to get the impact. So I stop. It's my last intervention.
I was going to say it's the last intervention before lunch. Let me just remind you, I mentioned this morning that we have changes for this afternoon. So we will come back here at 1:15, not 1:30, but 1:15. We will have Timo and Nicole. We have the workshop. But first we will meet here, and then we will divide in groups. They will guide us about the division of the groups. And then we have a plenary with Catherine Winthrop at 3:15 here. Then we will divide in groups again at 3:45 and 4:45. We will divide in workshop. And at 5:30 we will end like we were supposed to with the launch of the report. So between the only thing that has changed is that we start early. That's what you have to remember, to be here at 1:15, and we will guide you through the new program. For the people who have their computer, we put the new program on the website. We will post it here, so I won't have to spell it and they won't have to try to reach it, but it's MSSS msss.gov.qc.ca/global GNHiP. So, but anyway, it's going to be on the screen when you come back from lunch, so you could see the new program for this afternoon. So we are going to convene for lunch en français. Morue, on a du poisson pour dîner. Il y a des gens qui ont des allergies, vous les avez mentionnés. Ces gens-là vont avoir un menu à part. Pour les autres personnes, on a un seul menu avec de la morue, purée de chou-fleur, fenouil braisé au vin blanc et des légumes de la saison. Alors, comme vous voyez ici, on essaie beaucoup d'encourager aussi les cultivateurs, les locaux. Donc, on a beaucoup de produits qui viennent de la région. Alors, pour ce qui est du dîner, il faut descendre en bas. Là, je me situe... il y a des gens qui vont vous indiquer la signalisation pour descendre pour le dîner. Et encore une fois, on se retrouve ici à 1h15. Merci beaucoup. And I remind you that some people, if you want to subscribe to the Global Network, it's going to be at the table where you register. Thank you.